The Corp was where my thoughts directed themselves, as did my eyes. The weathered black words sat above the shattered glass entrance hall. High above, the tall, crooked-looking tower stretched almost as far into the sky as the mountain. It was hard to distinguish what was part of the original design and what was ruined, given that the whole thing seemed to lean lazily to the right. Its taller and slender design was curved to the point where it looked like more a crescent than a tower. Atop its peak were elegant spires, one of which had toppled over. The wires that once held it up now flying over the building's side, chiming with a ghostly melody as they moved in the wind. I tried to ignore them, not allowing it to mix with the ridiculous idea that this place might be haunted. Besides, it was far from organized, as the tale had suggested. Most of the dirt-smothered glass which had once framed the great tower was shattered. A few stories up, a hole tore straight through the slender tower like a great gaping wound. It was not hard to see the damage as an extension of the strange of the building's curvy design. Once again my subconsciousness reminded me that I had never heard of this destiny before, and judging by how hard this place was to find, nobody else seemed to care either. After finally discovering a road that curved up the mountain, and dealing with more than a few irritating samples of the local wildlife, you finally found yourself upon the cracked parking lot that sat at the building's front. Surrounding the field of scorched asphalt and decaying wagons was a thick concrete wall, an equally firm-looking gate, in combination with rows of barbed wire, guarded the entrance against any plane that couldn't simply fly over. Instead, such a threat would have to deal with the lines of turrets that lined the wall like deadly barbs on a vine. Unfortunately for whoever owned this place, none of those defenses seemed to work anymore. The wall was mostly crumbling, and the turrets were dormant, as was any sign of power to the front gate. I found it hard to picture how anybody could have seen this place and thought, well, that looks appealing, let's go there. Then again, I've heard of entire cities designed with the simple goal of keeping unwanted attention out. Star stood beside me, finishing off the last of the automated defenses before they had a chance to become hostile. My attention was cast between regarding the shattered entrance ahead, the likes of which was decorated by neat steps that curved around long dead shrubs of a dry fountain, and keeping an eye on Cherry. After getting a decent amount of sleep, food, and water in her system, she was becoming slightly less clingy. For now, however, I didn't know whether that was good or bad.
You think all the security inside is gonna be so friendly?
She asked in a cautious tone as if fearing she might jinx the favorable situation. I greatly hoped the thought of proceeding that question wouldn't tempt fate either. I wouldn't take it for granted, that's for sure, I commented, scoring the shattered glass doors beneath the weathered and crooked words of the Destiny Corporation logo. Even from here I could see turns on the roof just inside the door, spinning like they were lost.
Can't say the wasteland's fair even when you want to show somebody how bad it is, huh?
Cherry commented with a small smile. I rolled my eyes, but she couldn't be more right. The moment I watched her teach somebody how to survive the wasteland turned nice. Part of me wondered, if I gathered enough ponies all trying to do the same thing, could we not trade the wasteland to returning to the world it once was? Though I knew it could never be that easy, the thought of Cherry's budding humor was reassuring. Well, those ones seem friendly enough, Star stated, motioning toward a group of aimless turns just inside the foyer. I'd still blast him, I added, and seconds later my companion's minigun and whirred, his draconic roar swiftly reducing the turns to naught but sparkling shards and metal and smoldering dust. Well, they're certainly friendly now, Star quipped, firmly stepping up onto the bone-strewn staircase that led down the entrance. I drew my Cell Blaster, which I now upgraded with extra parts from the second rifle, along with some parts from Buckshot's store, before we left him and Gina there to salvage what they could from the place. With a metallic clatter, Star kicked the remains of one of the turrets into the central foyer. It was no surprise that the movement attracted no fire from the second pair of automated guns sat on the platform above. Regardless, they swiftly met the same fate. The interior was a towering, equilateral antechamber that rose all the way to the sharp steeple we've observed from the outside. The runs pristine walls that surrounded us were ringed with layers of wide balconies, most having collapsed long ago but still linked to the remains of ornate glass elevators. At the very top, a huge glass skylight had been shattered by the toppled rooftop spire, filling the room below with vast amounts of rubble. A large bursting cylinder on the far right, below several collapsed balconies, was what remained of the fallen spire's tip. Under the ash, sand, and bones, the floor had once been tiled. Directly before us, it fell away in the form of several shallow steps before flattening out, each row covered by dozens of fixed seats. Their frames were warped and rusted, highly distinguishable from the layers of skeletons that sprawled atop the disintegrated remains of the seat's dull blue padding. In the center of the room was a huge semicircle reception desk. Above, tired and faded banners were hung from the balconies on the first level. One on the left said, I boldly stated, "We make better ponies." On the right was far too torn and weathered to pass on its faded message, while the poster on the far wall boasted a similar slogan, Destiny, building brighter futures. The faded image of a sun rising over the horizon was displaying behind that deep blue comet-style emblazoned text. The last billboard size banner was suspended on the flat wall directly above us and stretched like a great tapestry over the entire surface. Upon it was the huge image of an orange-coated unicorn stallion, donned in a fine blue business suit and tie. As hooves, the company's sign once again claimed that it was building a brighter future for every last mare, stallion, and foal. The stallion's eyes seemed to watch me with a look of arrogant judgment, but I'd seen far too many monolithic paragons of propaganda to care. In the end, that bright future had been no better than the bright glow of balefire, and the fact that this place was littered with skeletons was a testament to that. Most of the bones were piled on the stairs as if trying to reach the door all those decades ago. I looked over them with caution. The bullet holes that dotted the floor and walls suggested that turrets had been responsible for this massacre. A few of the bodies stood out as being far more armored than the rest. Some ponies weren't even ponies. I'd seen enough griffins in my time to know what a dead one looked like. My concern regarding the friendly security system perked at the sight. Either those guns were just waiting to turn on us, somebody else with a gun was in here, or the turrets had been shooting at something else. Whatever, I'd kill these ponies. Fuck, I hated pre-war tombs like this. They were all the same. Littered with dead bodies and no way to know precisely why.
Don't suppose you see this too often?
Cherry asked me carefully, the sight of the numerous dead destroying the mental fortitude she had built up. I glanced back, the glow of my magic forging a path through the bony plethora of skeletons and scar bones as we proceeded. All too often, I sighed. After passing the 100th skeleton, you start getting inured in it. Roving around will bring death back to life. It'll only get you killed. I had no idea whether it was the sight before me or just the idea I was dragging her along to see it. But if she even stood a chance out here, she needed to be the ultimate truth of the wasteland. Never let the dead or misfortune of others get to you. Be a good pony. Be better. Never be the hero. If you're looking for survival advice, keep your eyes open. Star grumbled. As long as you aren't holed up in the foxhole you've dug for yourself or sink somewhere you know is secure, always assume that your environment is unsafe. Scan your surroundings. Listen for footsteps, scrabbling claws, hissing, the sounds of machines activating. Listen for the sound of a gun stock being slid into the stock of a gun or rifle. Learn to discern the click of a safety being switched off. Use every available sense to search for danger. The smell of gunpowder, the ozone of a magical gun blast, the stink of something dead. Peer on the ground and listen for a moment. He locked Cherry with a firm glare. Because you don't use your senses to stay alive here, you'll be dead in a day. Or worse, get us killed too. Both of us glanced back at him. I could feel Cherry edge closer to me as I mouthed the words, "My job," to him sourly. He rolled his eyes in response, still unconvinced that I could protect my new charge. "You just make sure you're up to that because chances are pretty good that we're gonna have to split up," he told me. Split up? My ears feel flat. I was no stranger to that kind of plan, as we'd done it countless times on other jobs. Sometimes we did it so much that it seemed pointless to be in a pair. I always took the broadcaster while I had my pit buck. My downcast look only seemed to confirm his fears about my motivations, but ultimately I nodded. "You take downstairs," I told him, looking to the balconies. "I'll take either, but you've got the pit buck," he stated, nodding to my foreleg. Shit, I forgot that we were looking for some sort of terminal. Then an idea came to me. I paused by the central desk, peering over its dusty edge. 3 terminals sat on the shelf running along the interior of the circular section. Papers, quills, and a whole manner of office supplies were littered among them, as well as the bones and several ponies. Most lay collapsed on the floor, yet one was sat lazily on the lone stool before the centralmost terminal, the only one that still flickered with a dark emerald green glow. A pair of us glanced down at it, then at each other. Then I smirked as I holstered my weapon. "I'll check, see if they had a record or something," I suggested, hoping dearly it would result in us staying together as I moved around to the desk. With a flicker of my horn, the bones of a Pegasus pony were pushed aside, warranting no added respect from me as they were mixed with the other remains. I took his former seat, setting the terminal before me. Destiny Corp. I replaced the typical Stable-Tech logo upon the screen, and the password prompt that typically accompanied the logo was missing. Either the Pegasus had been logged in for almost 2 centers, or had been no security to begin with. Destiny Corporation, building bright futures, flashed on the screen again, this time appearing from the tail of a comet as it dashed from one side to another. Let's see, I muttered to myself, biting my lower lip as I looked through. Star was still outside the horseshoe-shaped reception desk and was sorting through the piles of bones. Charlie was close behind me. I was also on the screen. Most of the things which we found were just appointments, timetables, and finances, all of which were not completely irrelevant. In fact, according to the information, this place safeguarded a lot of pre-war money with several vaults. There was also an unsettling but really unsurprising amount of bribing and blackmailing going on behind the scenes. Destiny Corps had even lobbied into ministries. Although given that it appeared privately owned, I could see why. The dictionary labeled security caught my eye. It wasn't completely ridiculous to have the controls to your building's defense at your front desk's terminal, was it? Manual shutdown security grid activated at 0800 hours. Successfully restored by Overseer. Systems restored to fully functionality by order of Overseer, the text stated. All I took from it was that still functional probably meant it's still liable to shoot you in the rear if you weren't careful. I eventually came across a file-tiled facility map, and opened it presented me with a frustrating caption declaring that all internal files were locked by order of Overseer. Below that was something strange. A text box. Would you like to know more? The words wrote themselves into existence just beneath the neat green rectangle. I was flat out with ideas, which, in the game of terminals, was admittedly few, to begin with. I felt the urge to bang my hoof on the desk, while I glared at the screen, eyes narrowing at the blinking green cursor, as if doing so would somehow force the inanimate object to obey me. Would you like to know more? Yes, I would like to know more, I growled in my head. But with nothing else to go on, I asked it how to lift the file's lockdown. File lockdown could be lifted manually via server hub. Server hub location. Level 4, room 234/9. Unlocked files will be dispatched to the terminal mainframe by default order of overseer. Files can be extracted from mainframe via an external storage device. Mainframe location. Sublevel 3, corridor 23B, aisle 45C. Have a nice day. Now we knew where the objective was. We still needed to know the name of the file we were after. A question a new terminal couldn't answer. Star? What exactly are we looking for? I asked skeptically. He turned back to me, thinking deeply for a moment. Not too sure myself. The contact never named exactly what they were after. I was just gonna say take whatever we can find and give it all to Griddle, he suggested. I had the feeling somebody wanted to keep exactly what they were after to themselves. I said as much, but Star didn't come on, and Jerry just seemed to grow even more curious. That was a good change, I noted, given that I'd unintentionally summoned this shift in feeling. A moment later I stood up, glancing back at the screen. If I was reading the terminal's instructions right, one of us had to be upstairs while another was downstairs. The other one needed to unlock the system manually, while the lower extracted the needed files. My ears flattened once more as I realized that I hadn't actually fixed our separation problem, but merely confirmed it. Given that I was the only one with the means of downloading anything from the mainframe, it looked like Star would have to take the upstairs after all. My guts sank even lower than that. I fucking hated pre-war death tombs, excluding the one I lived in. I reminded myself that I'd done it before and for far fewer gaps than this. Not to mention that this place seemed fairly safe and quiet for such a high payment. With that bold statement, I made sure at least one hoof was touching the wooden desk. One of us needs to go upstairs. Level 4, room 234-9 to lift the lockdown, I explained, glancing back to the terminal instructions to ensure I was correct. Huh? Sark grumbled while raising a confused eyebrow. Somebody called the Overseer has blocked all access to the system and is apparently in strict control of the security, so... I trailed off, glancing back at the screen. Basically, you need to go upstairs, find the mainframe, and unlock it. Star looked up to the balconies above. There's a lot of rooms up there, Dragon. Level 4, room 234-9. I repeated in frustration. I don't know. All the tracks are at the terminal. Actually seemed helpful for once. Cherry had remained silent for the entire conversation, her eyes fixed on the terminal screen. As I moved, she followed, almost as blindly as this place's security system. Looks like we're heading downstairs, I told her enthusiastically as I could, yet my loathing made it substantially more difficult. She shook her head slightly before her expression sunk. She wasn't okay? Oh, Celestia, what was wrong? I was actually panicking more about her feelings than the potential tunnel trek ahead. What was wrong with me? Can't think of anywhere better, she stammered sheepishly. I took in a breath of relief. She was fine. No, she was far from fine, my mind conjured. Fine. Physically she was fine at least. Just hoped her sudden drop in attitude was because she hated this idea of going down as much as I did. Level 4? Star asked, glaring up at the fifth most balcony. I pulled my eyes away from my nervous companion to look at him. Yeah, somewhere up there, I said, pulling a hoof upstairs with only a portion of my focus. He sighed, starting towards a set of stairs behind the desk. I'll meet you back here. By any sign of trouble, you leave, find a new position, and radio me, okay? He declared firmly before turning back with a wink, the gesture shattering in strictness of his ground rules slightly. I flushed a little. I couldn't help it. You be damn careful up there, too, I instructed, before he disappeared upstairs, the sound of his metal plates fading. I looked back at Cherry, who still wore the dull, introspective expression of deep thought. You sure you're alright? I asked her skeptically. She sighed, looking up.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just been a while since, well, you know.
She swept a hoof over the boneyard that was room. I frowned and was about to open my muzzle, but then she spoke again.
And no, it's not getting to me. It's just
She continued before I could speak.
another failure, isn't it?
I closed my muzzle and swallowed. We certainly had much more in common in that regard, and in truth, I saw myself at her core. I could almost envision her as a younger me, the feeling that I had just lost everything, and in that view, she was far stronger, able to buck off the anxiety that was trying to grip her and stand firm. You know you're a good pony, one of the best, I told her, hiding the fact that I appreciated her just standing there, radiating with the image of what I'd once aspired to be. That had all been before the wasteland broke and battered me down. She smiled, but didn't seem to take the compliment in quite the same way she'd taken the others. In her mind, I could still see that mental battle playing out, and it was providing the humble cuteness I had now expected from such a conversation. But I bugged the thought from my mind. I didn't deserve such a response. Shaking that from my head, I glanced back to the terminal. Mainframe location, sublevel 3, corridor 23B, aisle 45C. I asked exactly where that was. Please follow the signs, I responded. I could practically hear the condescending tone in my head. Alright. I grumbled as the slight irony of my advice came back to bite me. That? I turned away and followed the signs into the depths of Destiny Corp. Sublevel 1, the first of the signs read. Well, this was going to be so much fun if the stairs leading downward were all in different locations. Sublevel 2 stairs were indicated straightly ahead by a large red arrow down a lengthy, dilapidated corridor. Yay, so much fun, I mentally groaned, tiredly drawing the sound blaster. Cherry was, as always, close behind me. Her eyes were looking over every darkened corner and shadow, tentatively holding her shotgun steady with a glowing green field of magic. I really hoped she had the instinct to use my far better gun if she needed it, but for now, I decided to leave it to her own judgment. The darkening gloom ahead was unnerving, my dread only further reinforced by the battered remnants of several robots, long since destroyed by gunfire. As I tried cautiously into the corridor, I noticed that the walls bore the scars of a firefight, and even some explosives. To our left, the corridor widened, making space for a row of shattered glass display cabinets. Beside the metal skeletons of what had once been shown here, there's nothing but shattered glass and rusted plaques. One case held what appeared to be a severed wing, another a similarly mutilated unicorn horn. And under a closer inspection, it was clear both were actually metallic replicas of such body parts, stopping my ideas of the sickness of pre-war pony kind from dropping to a whole new level of disgust. Behind the rows of cabinets against the far left wall was a life-size model of Pegasus. Wait, on the unicorn. Alicorn? Both the wings and horn looked artificial just like those in the cabinets. Both were also strapped to the equine mannequin via a strange vest-like device and smooth helmet. A faded poster behind the display asked in bright orange text. Have you ever wondered what it's like? In our bright futures, you need wonder no more. I raised an eyebrow at that. If anything, that message just triggered my warning systems. Have you ever wondered? An overly cheerful voice suddenly boomed to my right. Both Sherry and I jumped like frightened fillies at a dusty screen lit up on the opposite wall. Have you ever pondered how a Pegasus really flies or the secrets to unicorn magic? These mysteries and no more will soon be unraveled. Here at the Destiny Corporation, our dedicated scientists are hard at work looking into what really makes you a pony, what makes us all of ponies. The voice boomed again in a cheerful tone painfully reminiscent of Foggy's. Only this one wasn't tiny and broken. Vocal tones and volume sound far too cheerful and excited considering that their entire industry was intended to make each tribe feel inferior about their tribe's abilities and selling artificial prosthetics to those who could afford their technology. I could feel my sudden panic began to fade as I watched the image on the screen. At least it wasn't a monster, I assured myself, as a stray little gray Pegasus appeared on the screen. She reared up with a majestic flap on her wings, before running out of the frame. Lime green unicorn mare appeared in the same spot with a flash from her horn, performing an identical pose and then following the Pegasus. The Destiny Corporation, building a bright future for every last mare, stallion, and foal. That was the last thing to sound from the screen, accompanied by the image of the corporation's logo, words appearing in the flash and lingering within the trail of a comment. Before it appeared the image of a family, a mare, stallion, and small foal all gazed up at the cosmic spectacle in awe. Then with a dull whimper, the image cut out. I just shook my head. All the stupid ponies back then with all this stupid shit they thought they could make a reality. A brighter future? They sure fucked that one up. I looked back at Cherry who, besides being scared half to death, focused her attention on the glass display cabinet, the one boasting the male Pegasus wing. Shuddering slightly, she raised a hoof to wipe the dust from the plaque upon its front.
Pegasus telekinesis,
She read, her tone skeptical.
Was it really just a wing beat away?
Looking to my left, my eyes fell upon the cabinet containing the artificial horn, unicorn horn. Spells or merely instinct? The topmost title of its plaque asked. I almost found that insulting. Of course, we had to learn spells. Casting fire from my horn was not something I could just do. Yet every unicorn could use telekinesis as far as I knew. I felt a combination of distaste and caution from the idea. A pseudo fear as to what it might mean silenced my mind. Then I moved over to the Pegasus wing. Have you ever wondered how Pegasus flies or controls the weather? How can the Pegasus wing not only support the weight of a full-grown pony, but also propel its host forwards with enough velocity to generate a hurricane or ascend into the clouds? Cutting-edge research has revealed that with each flap of a Pegasus wing, a weight telekinetic field is generated around the pony, reducing the rate and allowing flight. Here at Destiny Corp, we aim to unlock the source of infinite magic that flows through not only Pegasi, but all ponies. The Destiny Corporation strives toward building towards a brighter future for every mare, stallion, and foal. I had no desire to read a neighboring unicorn plaque after that. To think that my horn was no different from some pony's wing was ridiculous. Even if I had always thought because I had small wings, I'd already had a bad feeling about this place. But somehow it got even worse once we'd found this display. I couldn't shake the horrific mental image of some mangled mashed up ponies and male limbs crawling about downstairs. I even wondered if the things ponies couldn't be the goddess were made here. Though I didn't believe that rumor either, trying not to let my uneasy demeanor show as I looked to Cherry, who was still pondering the implication of male wings.
If you got to work and found another, could you?
She mused, trailing off as she placed a hoof on the thick wall of glass separating us from the wing. What? Fly? I wouldn't try it, I told her cautiously. I had no knowledge of any flying earth ponies before the war. I assumed this project had never been finished. Cherry glanced over to the unicorn display case, her sudden movement staying off the speakers and video again. This time it startled me more than the eager pink unicorn. She eagerly began reading the second plaque. Unfortunately for my companion, however, the second set of information had not fared quite so well over the years, leaving her with only half of the ambitious ramblings. Something about primal magic within all living things. A ridiculous idea that I shift from my mind as I had done the others. Cherry, on the other hand, seemed content to ramble on about it. I made no effort to stop her, however, simply glad to hear her voice opening about something. In rooms that followed, there were more display cases, most of which were empty. Two more mannequins, one of a North Pole and one of a unicorn, lay toppled in the final room, as well as one last display cabinet, last of which was also shattered open. Glass crunched under my hooves as I reached the room's far wall. As I peered at the obliterated display case before me, a hoof caught something. A stone tablet, or a piece of one at least. It didn't take me long to deduce that this had once been displaying within the ruined case ahead. The accompanying plaque was concealed on its own downward face. Not that I was interested in reading any more nonsense these lunatics had cooked up. I kicked the tablet into its front and saw a vast array of patterns etched into its gray surface. Towards the top was the lower half of what appeared to be a multicolored pointed star, surrounded by a triangle of three smaller stars, each with their own orbiting sparkles. Below us sat many pony-like figures. It was hard to tell exactly what they were. Some were bowing, others were fighting with what appeared to be spears in their muzzles. Earth ponies, then. Maybe even zebras? I almost snickered at that. The idea was that any pony would put anything related to them in the display case back then was among one of the more absurd things I thought. With that, I kicked the devil aside. Maybe the thing was cursed. If so, this curse certainly wasn't hard at work cleaning up this place. See, it was horse apples. I don't mind, firmly backing the theory Buckshot's tale had spawned. As I moved on, Cherry stopped and curiously peered down at the stone tablet, were setting down her weapon and levitating it up to inspect. I wouldn't mess about with that stuff if I were you, I suggested before falling silent. Horse apples. Really, Dragonfire? My mind questioned warily. I'm not goddess damn superstitious.
Couldn't we sell it?
She asked optimistically, and I raised an eyebrow. You do know that the mill is probably worth more, I said, pointing a hoof back to the previous case and the metal body parts within it. Cherry glanced back.
You'll be surprised when I've seen exchange hooves,
she explained thoughtfully, looking back to the depth that she deliberately rotated in her magic. My look once again became curious. I knew at least some part of her was motivated to prove herself to me, even if I didn't want her to. Second, I didn't see her as the type of pony who'd buck centuries old glass cases just to get at some scraps. Okay, I could be wrong. With the flare of her horn, Cherry thrust above her shotgun into one of the cases, shattering it on the second strike and looting its contents. Without hesitation, she started on the second one. As timid as she was, I had a feeling I had picked up a pony with a clear and active salvage. And if her bartering skill was as good as she claimed, when I was surprised she wasn't running her own trader town or something. One more thing I don't have to teach her, I noted, amusedly wondering whether I could get any tips from her for her courage.
I reckon I'll get someone you fall in love with these,
she explained eagerly, hefting the extra weight in her saddlebags. Really nickered, as cleanly as I could. She frowned. I swiftly salvaged the situation. You sell that thing and maybe you can manage all our finances, I offered without hinting that after her claim back in town, I planned to have her do most of the bartering from now on anyway. She smiled, seeming to take that as a challenge as she retrieved her shotgun. The slow emerge of her true character was enough to send my mind swimming with pride among the other things. I turned back to the corridor and to find the tired ruins of a poster hanging from the wall at its end. Leading the charge against the unknown was what the bold yellow letters claimed from beneath the coat and sandy dust. Yep, that ghost was literally just pony feathers. To my right was the dark gloom of another long corridor. To my left was a set of double doors on the side declaring this to be the stairwell to sublevel 2. The doors were unexpectedly unlocked. A large glass cover was retracted above them. I kept a wary eye on it as I passed underneath, shoving the doors open and finding myself at the top of yet more stairs. The metal framework under hoof seemed sturdy enough, as did the rails. The walls were comprised of rough concrete and bricks, and unlike the desert exposed chambers above, an unnerving chill hung over the gloom. I gave a shiver as I imagined the ghosts of the dead and displaced touching or passing through me. There's no such things as ghosts. I mentally reprimanded myself as I began to descend. I heard the door close behind us as Sherry followed.